There's a therapist who's asserting that a mother's general happiness is the biggest indicator to whether children thrive. Look at this.
Do you guys know the number one outcome or the number one indicator for how children grow up to thrive, whether or not they actually do?
I thought it was the daddy in the house.
Absolutely not.
What's
Believe
that?
it or not, it is the quality of their mother's happiness.
Wow.
Damn.
The quality of their mother's happiness is the number one indicator as to whether or not a child will grow up to thrive. Because if you have a depressed mother, if you have an anxious mother, if you have a mother with post-traumatic stress disorder who is having to disconnect from her own body, she cannot show up to nurture you. She cannot show up to support you. She cannot fully step into that space. And what she will teach you about being in relationships with other people, whether you can trust them, whether you can trust yourself, whether you can actually be committed and connected to somebody and know that they will reciprocate that to you in a healthy way. She teaches you that not through her words, but through her actions. And so what I will say to you, sis, is that you have to decide for yourself how you want your children not to just grow up in your house, but to grow up in this world, because you are teaching them that right now through how you are living your life and showing them how life is supposed to be in this roof with this man.
We're definitely going to talk about it. Let's count all the things wrong with this assertion. But first, I want to thank the Patreons, Maurice Novembre, Devin, and Judas Orenda, and all my subscribers. Without your support, I couldn't do what I do. So let's get into it. Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist. I have degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, and a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy. In this video, I'm not seeking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Okay, problem number one. What she's saying is not what's written above her head. Those are two separate things. She's talking about mental stability and being able to propagate that in your children. And what it says up above is that you can be a single mom and your general happiness is the only thing that determines whether your children thrive or not. That's a problem. Right, problem number two. And I know you all got it from the beginning, but just because a therapist says something doesn't make it factual. There needs to be research behind what that therapist said. Otherwise, it's just somebody saying something. Ronald McDonald said that they have the best hamburgers. That doesn't make it true. Problem number three. It looks like she got her information from an opinion piece that was done about the study. Okay, let's get into the actual study done at the Marriage Foundation, Happy Wife, Happy Life. And you'll notice that the same author of the opinion piece is the author of the study. That's important as we move along. So they say, our own previous research has already shown that mother's happiness at wave 1, which is when the child is young, birth to, I think, 9 months, is a strong predictor of the subsequent stability of the parents and mental health of the children at wave 6, which is when they're like 14, after taking into account marital status, couple stability, and mother's age, education, and ethnicity. However, in neither of these studies did we include father's happiness with the relationship as a factor. Pardon? You're saying that mom's happiness is the most important thing, but you never took the father's happiness into account as a factor? They go on to say, the only study where we did include the happiness of the father at wave 1 was our earlier analysis of the effect of planned birth on subsequent couple stability at wave 5, where children were 11. So the only variable for father's happiness is whether it's a planned birth? Oh, there's more. Although dad's happiness significantly affects subsequent couple stability, couples are even less likely to stay together if mom's happiness is low, 1 to 3 out of 7, and more likely to stay together if mom's happiness is especially happy, 7 out of 7. Okay, hold up. They're using the term happiness for relationship satisfaction. That's exactly what it sounds like. And they literally said that dad's happiness is the indicator for stability. They go on to say, so compared to moms who rate their happiness as 6 out of 7, the odds of staying together are 29, 41, or 59% lower, all other factors being equal, if mom's initial happiness is rated 1, 2, or 3, respectively. Likewise, the odds of staying together are 27% greater if mom rated her happiness as 6 out of 7. These differences are all highly significant. Did you catch it? All other factors being equal. So let's look at some of their results. So in this chart, they say, it illustrates how mothers are more likely than fathers to report that they are very or extremely close to their teenage children, how married parents are more likely than cohabitating parents to report they are close to their children, and how teenage boys are more likely than teenage girls to be close to either parent. Then they say, put the other way around, among all parents who were initially married or cohabitating couples, Table 5 shows that 14% of boys and 18% of girls are either not very or fairly close to their mother, whereas 24% of boys and 34% of girls are less close to their father. So there's two things wrong with this one. The first one is that they don't look at what is the difference between marriage and cohabitation and how that could affect the father's perceived closeness to his children. They don't care about those variables. Again, it's just about mother's happiness. The second one is that they ask the parents their perception of how close they are to the children, and then they start saying that is the closeness that the children feel to their parents. But nobody ever asks the kids. They're just taking the parents' word for it. In Table 6, they say, after taking into account mother's age, ethnicity, education, and marital status at Wave 1, Table 6 shows that the happiness of both mother and father with their relationship has a unique impact on the subsequent closeness to mom for boys, but only the mother's happiness affects her subsequent closeness to girls. What? Mom's only going to be close to her son if mom is happy with dad. Why doesn't anybody else see this as a problem? So let's look at chart 8 and 9. So 8 is the percentage of boys with high levels of behavior problems by initial parent happiness. So along the bottom is the rate for happiness, so unhappy to happy. And you will see that mom's variability has a big impact on whether kids, boys, the first one, have problems. And dad's level of happiness with his relationship does not affect the boys. And again, on the bottom, the percentage of girls with high levels of behavior problems. So you will see the variability in mom's happiness from unhappy to happy goes up and down, whereas dad's stays a bit more steady across the board. But again, because he brings stability to the relationship, his variability does not change whether girls have behavior problems. So they would rather say that keeping mom happy in the relationship helps the kids to thrive, rather than focusing on these actual results where dad bringing stability is a great indicator. Here's an important statement they make. In terms of subsequent happiness, we found a weak but highly significant correlation between both mother and father present and future happiness. Which is it? Is it weak or is it highly significant? Because I think the problem here is that you're ignoring an entire body of research that says it's important. Now they say, in terms of couple stability, the relationship happiness of both mother and father early on are both strong predictors of whether a couple will still be together when their children are teenagers, even after taking into account mother's age, education, ethnicity, and whether or not she was married when the baby was 9 months old. However, mother's happiness is twice as strong a predictor as father's happiness, and whereas the extremes of happiness and unhappiness are not linked to future stability for mothers, this is not the case for fathers. So they would rather present this information as these extreme up and downs of mother's happiness with the relationship is the thing that should be focused on, rather than looking at how her extremes of happiness up and down affects not only her children, her relationship with her children, but also affects the father. Now right here I'm going to point something out that they keep neglecting to say, even in their own table. Factors predicting marital stability over 14 years with their relative importance. If you look at the very first one, it's mom's age at childbirth, not mom's happiness. So let's look at how they summed all this up to make their point. They say, so in summary, the happiness of both mothers and fathers early on in parenthood is strongly related to a range of family outcomes over the next 14 years. Mother's happiness influences her own subsequent happiness, the stability of her relationship as a couple, the closeness of her relationship with either teenage son or teenage daughter, and the mental health of either teenage son or daughter. Father's happiness influences his own subsequent happiness and stability, though both to a lesser extent than does the mother's happiness. Father's happiness also influences the mother's subsequent closeness to her teenage son, though not to her daughter, and also the mental health of the teenage son, though not his daughter. Mother's happiness is thus the more robust indicator, providing compelling evidence in support of the expression, happy wife, happy life. Now, I've already shown you what's wrong with most all of everything in there, but one more thing I want to point out is they say themselves that dad's happiness and stability can affect his son's mental health. So how did we get to that a single mom, as long as she's happy, her kids are great? How did we forget about the boys? One last thing I want to say about this study. It was done in 2019, which is relatively new for the state of research, but it was done in the UK. That doesn't mean it applies to everybody. Wholeheartedly recommend that anybody who's going to have a conversation about what this therapist asserts read the study first. There may be more problems with what's written there, but these are the glaring inconsistencies, fallacies, and biases inherent in this study. You can share this information where you think it's appropriate. Please like the video, that helps me to continue to do more. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe, it is free. And as always, thanks guys.